I'm here with Florence Spurling, who
Hello.
came to us from London, and her little Isla baby, who is hopefully quiet during our interview, but we see how it goes. We invited you this year to Munich Knits because I'm a big fan of your designs. I know that you have been published a lot, that you studied knitting design in London and New York, but when did you really start to knit?
Thank you. So my mum has always been a great knitter, so I think I've been surrounded by it, but never really got into it properly until I was studying. And then when I was studying, mostly I was doing machine knitting with little by hand. But then I got much more into hand knitting when I first moved to New York, and I started working part-time in a knitting store. I think sort of around that time there were, the kind of the rise of all of the more of the independent yarn brands, and a lot more people were kind of getting into knitting again. So that's when my interest really started to peak, and I started to sort of dabble in the hand knitting design. And then from there, I've kind of just got totally obsessed, and now hand is pretty much all I do.
Yeah. And you being English and being in the US as well, what is your favorite method to knit? Because there's so many different methods and techniques to knit from country to country. So I guess you're a thrower.
Yeah, I love color work. But yeah, I knit the English style, the throwing. And I love all color work methods. I think Fair Isle and Intarsia and slip stitch. There's just so many possibilities, and I think they're so fun to knit. And I love pattern, and it's kind of a never ending way of putting together kind of interesting fabrics. So I think those will always be my favorite methods. And I've always got sort of too many ideas and none to make.
And where do the ideas come from?
I think I always like to have a balance of things that are fun and interesting to make, but also that I would want to wear as well. So I suppose with my color choices, I try to make sure that they would be colors that I would wear. And then I really love vintage textiles, and often draw from inspiration, maybe from sort of vintage motifs or patterns or styles, and then looking at textiles, in different countries and things like that. I love sort of folk kind of patterns and motifs, and then kind of throw it all together really. And a lot of it is just sort of swatching and practicing, and sometimes I have an idea and it doesn't turn out how I want, but then it turns into something else. So lots of just trying out and iterations. And then often when I have a design, I kind of think, okay, I'd like to make that in a different style. That leads me on to something else. So it tends to be sort of like a springboard into other things.
Yeah, so it's a long process.
Yes.
And I'm still needing time to knit the Scout Shawl.
Yeah.
It's on my list, but I still haven't had the time yet. So from the huge portfolio of workshops you have, I picked two of them. One is about one of your most favorite designs, the Scout Shawl. And the other one is about mosaic stitches and slip stitches. So can you please explain a little bit what our participants have to expect from the workshops? what do they have to bring as well? If they will, I'm not sure yet. Do they get homework before or anything like this?
Yeah, so the first class is all to do with my Scout Shawl design, and the type of that is combining Fair Isle and Intarsia knitting. So we'll look at those two different types of colour work. We'll look at them first of all individually, and then we'll work on a swatch where we put the two methods together, and it's a patchwork effect that's seen like in my Scout Shawl designs. So with that class, you don't really have to have any previous knowledge of colour work. It helps a little bit if you've done a bit of Fair Isle or stranded knitting, but I've taught the class lots of times to people who've never done stranded colour work, and that's fine. You'll need to have, so with both of the classes, there's no homework. You'll need to have 5 different colours of yarn, so just 5 colours that you like. I suggest a 4-ply weight and then just some corresponding needles to go with.
A 4-ply weight is a DK weight or
fingering weight.
Fingering, okay.
And then the second class, the slip stitch and mosaic class, is all about the technique of slip stitch. So we have a look at lots of different examples of what can be created with slip stitch. So single color textures. We'll have a look at using multiple colors to again sort of create color textured fabrics. And then we'll also look at mosaic knitting, which is like a bit like a Fair Isle, but just using slip stitches. So a big deep dive into the technique. We'll try out different methods. Again, no homework. For that class, you'll need a couple of different colors of yarn in contrasting colors, and then corresponding needles. I can't remember exactly the weight of yarn, but it doesn't matter too much. It could be fingering, it could be sport, it could be DK, whatever you want to work with. And so with that one, you'll end up having sort of a good understanding of how to use slip stitch with any other project, and just the types of things that can be created.
Okay, so that is actually all my questions for today. We are very much looking forward to having you over,
Yes.
and the baby.
Yeah.
Hopefully all works out with the weather this year.
No more snow.
It cannot be so bad like last year.
Yeah.
All right. So see you soon in 44 days in Munich.
Yes, very excited.
Bye-bye.
Bye.